Hi, I'm Molly Tritton, and mine is over the different forms of exercise and how they cause muscles to fatigue at different rates. For an elementary level, you move your body by using your skeletal muscles. There are many layers to these muscles that make them contract correctly. Your brain sends signals through your nerves to tell your muscles to contract. These electric signals are called action potentials, and these are what make your muscles contract. There are three types of muscle fibers: slow oxidative, fast oxidative, and fast glycolytic. Slow oxidative muscle fibers they use oxygen to make energy, and they contract slowly to save this energy. These muscles appear bright red, and they do not get tired very fast. These muscle fibers are what allow you to be able to sit in your desk with good posture at school and keep your joints strong. Fast oxidative muscle fibers use oxygen as well to make energy. They contract faster than slow oxidative fibers, and they are a lighter color of red. You use these muscle fibers when you are walking or jogging. Fast glycolytic muscle fibers do not use oxygen to make energy. These are bigger fibers than slow or fast oxidative, and they contract faster with a lot of force. These fibers get tired very quickly. You only use these fibers if you are lifting something very heavy or you start sprinting when you run. For a high school level, there are multiple levels within skeletal muscles. Muscles are made up of fasciculi, which are made up of muscle fibers, which are made up of myofibrils, which are made up of myofilaments. Epimysium is the elastic tissue that covers a muscle. Perimysium is the connective tissue that holds muscle fibers together within a bundle. And endomysium is the connective tissue that surrounds every individual muscle fiber containing nerves and blood capillaries. For muscle contractions, a single action potential causes a brief muscle twitch. A single twitch is defined when a muscle can fully relax in between each twitch. We need many of these action potentials to generate a full muscle contraction. Muscle contraction is conducted by a cross bridge of the actin and myosin myofilaments. There are 4 levels of muscle contraction. Starting with single twitches, the muscle can fully relax between twitches. For twitch summation, these are the addition of many twitches. Tetanus is the maximal sustained contraction with no relaxation in between. And fatigue is when the muscle can no longer contract because it is too tired to do so. For the 3 different types of muscle fibers, there's slow oxidative, which uses aerobic metabolism to produce ATP for energy. They are slow to contract and they store energy. They contain high levels of myoglobin, which makes them appear dark red. They are activated for postural control and bone and joint support. These fibers fatigue slowly due to the low levels of energy used at once. The next type of muscle fiber is fast oxidative. These primarily use aerobic respiration to produce ATP for energy, but they occasionally switch to anaerobic, which is not using any oxygen. Aerobic metabolism is using oxygen through glycolysis, which is metabolism to produce more ATP. They contract faster with more force than slow oxidative muscle fibers. They have less myoglobin, making them a lighter color of red. These fast fibers hydrolyze ATP faster, allowing the cross bridge to form quicker, and thus making a quicker contraction. Since they are aerobic and more ATP is produced, these fibers do not fatigue as quickly. And these are typically used for endurance training, such as walking or running. The last type of muscle fiber is fast glycolytic. These use only anaerobic metabolism to produce ATP. Anaerobic metabolism does not use oxygen. The fibers are larger than others, and they produce very fast and strong contractions. They fatigue very quickly and can only be used for a short period of time. These fibers will be activated for sprinting, weightlifting, or any other action that requires a very fast and powerful contraction. Muscle fatigue. Your muscles will not fatigue as quickly if you are utilizing oxidative fibers. Your muscles will quickly fatigue if you are using only fast glycolytic fibers. Walking, jogging, and other endurance training will primarily use your oxidative muscle fibers. Weightlifting or sprinting will primarily use glycolytic fibers and will make your muscles fatigue at a much faster rate. For a college peer, this is the skeletal muscle anatomy. So as you can see, bundles of myofibrils make up a muscle fiber, and bundles of muscle fibers make up the fasciculus, and bundles of the fasciculus make up the muscle itself. Action potentials are what cause muscle contractions. A single action potential only causes a brief muscle twitch, and the latent period is the brief amount of time between the stimulus reaching the muscle and a muscle contracting. The contraction is sustained by the summation of many action potentials. For sustaining contraction, a muscle twitch is a brief twitch allowing the muscle to fully relax in between twitches. Twitch summation is the muscle is stimulated again before it is able to relax. The second twitch is added to the first one to produce a longer response. Tetanus, the action potentials are sent at a very high rate, causing the muscle to stay stimulated and contracted rather than relaxed. Fatigue is when the muscle is no longer able to generate a contraction due to overactivation of the muscle. The actin and myosin cross bridge. Actin, which are the thin filaments, make a cross bridge with myosin, which are the thick filaments, within the sarcomere of a myofibril. A power stroke of the cross bridge pulls the actin over the myosin to make the sarcomere contract. Large amounts of calcium are required for this to work properly. Action potentials trigger the release of calcium from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, and the calcium binds to troponin complex, causing the tropomyosin to unblock the binding site for actin on the myosin. This allows myosin and actin to bind and then form the cross bridge. There are three types of muscle fibers. The first is slow oxidative. They use aerobic metabolism using oxygen and glucose to produce ATP. Aerobic metabolism is using oxygen through glycolysis, which produces more ATP. Having large amounts of mitochondria so they can contract slowly for long periods of time to store all of this ATP. They contain high levels of myoglobin and blood capillaries that carry oxygen through the bloodstream, and this creates a dark red color. These muscle fibers are activated primarily for postural control and bone and joint support. These fibers fatigue very slowly due to the low levels of energy used at once. The next type of muscle fibers is fast oxidative, and these are also known as intermediate fibers. They are primarily using aerobic respiration to produce ATP, but they occasionally switch to anaerobic. They contract faster and with more force than slow oxidative. They do have less myoglobin, making them a lighter color of red. And these fast fibers hydrolyze ATP faster, allowing the cross bridge to form quicker, which then makes a quicker contraction. The high levels of mitochondria and more ATP produced aerobically, so these fibers do not fatigue as quickly. These fibers are primarily used for movements that require more than postural support, but not quite bursts of energy such as endurance training. The last type of muscle fibers is fast glycolytic. These use only anaerobic metabolism to produce ATP. Anaerobic metabolism does not use oxygen and produces less ATP than aerobic metabolism. The fibers have a larger diameter than either oxidative fibers. They do not have large amounts of mitochondria or myoglobin, so they appear white in color. They produce very fast and strong contractions with very high levels of tension. They fatigue quickly and can only be used for short periods of time. These fibers are activated for sprinting, weightlifting, or any other action that requires a fast and very powerful contraction. Muscle fatigue. Oxidative muscle fibers will have a much longer endurance than glycolytic fibers due to the much higher concentration of oxygen in the bloodstream. Glycolytic muscle fibers will fatigue much faster because the because of the high powerful movements that require bursts of energy to be used. Endurance training such as walking or jogging will utilize oxidative muscle fibers and will not fatigue as quickly as powerlifting or sprinting. Weightlifting or sprinting will utilize glycolytic muscle fibers and will use large amounts of ATP at once to produce those fast and powerful movements. Every muscle fiber will have a combination of all three muscle fibers, but the predominant type will vary on the muscle's primary function.